Hey, everybody. How are you this Friday? What a week. What a week. It is absolutely gorgeous here today on the East Coast. It is sunny, the wind is blowing, and it is cold as a witch's you know what. Thank you guys for joining me today. Just double checking that my feed is working, and it is. So I'm going to quit this. Actually, and it looks like the lag time isn't even that bad. That's pretty amazing. All right. How you guys doing? Daniel, Peter is here. Loy is here. Great to see you guys. I'm really excited to talk to you today. We'll just wait for a couple people to filter in. Everybody who's here, I know there were 25 people waiting. Maybe it's going to take at least a few minutes for people to pop in. Mariana is here. Pop in and say hello. Tell everybody where you're from. I'd really appreciate it. From South Africa, Jacques. Awesome. Welcome. And Daniel, I know, is from Manhattan or New York City anyway. Peter is up in Maine. I knew that. Mariana is, I think Mariana, you're down in Florida, right? Yeah. Manuel is from Rome. Awesome. Cool. Laura, where are you from? I love your avatar, Laura. That's very nice. I'm IW. LW. Nice. Milford from Germany. Cool. All right. Barely above zero. Yeah, I know. Well, we're not yet used to it. Lebanon. Cool. I'm wishing you guys well in Lebanon. I know there's been some stuff going on in Lebanon right now. Anita, welcome. And yeah, man. Hey, this is really cool. The lag time on the chat is like almost nothing today. That's really exciting because usually it's freaking forever. Bucky's from Cleveland. Yo. All right. Yo, yo, yo. Mo is from the Netherlands. Cool. Totally global contingent. I love this. All right. Frey from Ethiopia. Cool. All right, guys. I want to talk to you about future-proofing yourselves today. But first, just a couple housekeeping things. One, I want to tell you about Bring Your Own Laptop. Daniel Scott's a certified Adobe trainer, and Bring Your Own Laptop is a Adobe training website. Through video training, it's a subscription-based. I think it's $12 or maybe $15 a month. Absolutely insane, the value. And if you pay that, you get access to all his videos. He's a good friend, and he does an amazing, amazing job of Adobe training on video. He's super fun to learn from. He's a great teacher. He's been a speaker at the Adobe Max conference as a keynote speaker, so he's no slouch. He knows what he's talking about. And that link, byol.me/Philip, is an affiliate link, so I get just a little bit of a commission for sending people to him. So I'd really appreciate it to show support for me, to use my affiliate link if you decide to go and subscribe to Daniel's training, because Daniel is the man. He is really, really good. So if you are looking to improve your Adobe skills, Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, he is the man to teach you. My wife actually has been making a pivot, and we're going to talk a lot about pivoting today. She's been making a pivot in her career from being an art therapist in the psychiatric institution to being a graphic designer. So she's actually been taking some of Daniel's courses, and she is raving about it. So if it's good enough for my wife, Beth, it's good enough for you. So does he give projects in his training? Actually, Eljan, he is actually doing a, what he does is he does challenges sometimes. And he also has a YouTube channel, and he does challenges, where he gives you a project and you do it. And I think that there's a way to post it or a way to make it public so people can get and give each other feedback and stuff like that. It's very cool. He's got a whole ecosystem of training going on over there. So if you were looking to, if you're looking to really up your level of skills, I recommend that you go check out Daniel Scott. And just quickly, if you haven't joined the Brand Design Masters Facebook group, this is my private Facebook group. You have to answer a few questions to get in. You do have to give up your email address. And it's full of creative professionals, designers, agency owners, illustrators, photographers, a whole gamut, 3D artists, architects. And it's a great group of people, very active group. People post their work, they get feedback, they ask questions, they get answers. There is a list. People are able to enter their name and contact information on a list if they choose to, called the Masters List. So you can get access to that to find people to work with, partnerships. Very cool site. Go join Brand Design Masters, facebook.com/groups/Brand Design Masters. Please join. It takes about 24 hours to get approved, but it is definitely worth it. So go check that out. All right. Now you will notice that at the bottom of my screen is a sign that says caption. It says type question in all caps before your question. If you have a question as I'm going through what I'm going through, type question in all caps. So when I scroll back through the comments, I can see your question will jump out at me, and I will try to answer it when we go to the Q&A period at the end. Okay, so question in all caps. And then I'm going to put one other thing up here right now. This URL, philipvandusen.com/BS101. I am giving a couple webinars next week, a masterclass in how you can get bigger and better design projects and charge more for the work that you do. And it's going to be some really great content, and I'm going to share a little bit more about that in just a few minutes as we start to go through this content. But I wanted to leave that URL up on the screen in case you want to attend the webinar. Now, one of the things I've been hearing from people, and they've been asking me, is I can't make a webinar on the 1st or the 2nd or the 3rd of February. Is there going to be a replay? Yes, there is. So if you go to that URL and sign up for a webinar, if for some reason you can't make it, that's okay, because now you're going to be on an email list in order to get, you'll get an email about the replay. So you'll be able to go and watch the replay video afterwards. So, so there's that. Okay. So sign up for the webinar. It's happening at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time next week, Tuesday and Wednesday. There will be an encore presentation the week after, but I'm not going to announce that. I'm really trying to get everyone to the first two. Okay. So there's those things. I'm going to leave those things up. How are you guys doing today? Good? We all good? We ready to go? Want to talk about how to future-proof your careers? Peter will be proud of me that I'm working the Red Bull. I had kind of a late night working last night, and so I need that. Need it to keep my lips moving today, Peter. All right. Kanku 23. What is that? What is your avatar? That's really wild. Anyway, welcome. Thumbs up. All right, ready to go. Okay, so let's talk about how to future-proof yourself. All right. Everyone has pivots in their life, in their professional lives. If you think that you are going to start your career doing one thing and you are going to keep doing that thing all the way through it, nothing's ever going to change. You're going to get that perfect job. You're going to work your way to the top of the ladder. You're going to stay there. Let me tell you, as a creative professional and someone who's been around this industry for 30 years, that ain't going to happen. So I'm going to tell you right now, being prepared for pivoting is really important. And the things I'm going to talk to you about today, about future-proofing your career, are key. Some are tactical, some are mindset, some are practice. But they are methods to make sure that you come out of this path, out of this journey, smelling like a rose, because it's going to be jumpy. There's going to be side jogs in there. There's going to be things that are thrown in your way that are not expected. I can tell you from experience that happens. I'm going to tell you just a little bit about my story. I've had a lot of career pivots in my life. I started off as a painter. I got my master's in painting. So I'm actually a fine artist, and I became a teacher of the fine arts. And I've been laid off or fired 7 times in my career. I have moved from one state to another for work 4 times in my career. I've had 14 jobs since I got out of college. I've had 7 major career pivots in my life. I went from artist to a teacher. I went from teacher to being an apparel designer, a t-shirt designer. I moved from being a t-shirt designer to be a design manager, a creative director, manager of people. I moved over to a global apparel company, giant corporation, to be a vice president of design, overseeing 65 people across 5 divisions. Outside of design, into packaging, into textile design, into color, into trend. Some of you may wonder where I got my trend experience. That's where I got it, in the apparel industry. And then I pivoted over to be an executive creative director in a global packaging firm, doing branding, brand strategy, and lots of packaging. And then I went from the agency side back to the client side in a fast-moving consumer products company, one of the big soda manufacturers in the world, one of the 2 biggest, overseeing salty snacks, right? Global job, creative leader, but on the client side. And then when I left that, I started my own accessories company. So I became an entrepreneur. I started a e-commerce online company. I ran that for about a year, and then I pivoted again and started my own agency and my own consultancy. I've had over 7 major shifts and jogs and pathway changes in my career. And I can guarantee you, I know a lot of creative professionals at a lot of different levels, and this is the way that it goes. Things get put in your way that you are not expecting. And as usual, as you know, I'm behind on my slides because I always do that. I get talking and I forget my slides. So I wanted to get caught up. All right. Remember, if you have a question, chat all you want to yourselves, man. Go for it. I don't have a moderator today, so Joselle Tech, my lovely marketing assistant, is not here moderating today. So I am on my own. So if you have a question, please type question in all caps before your question so I can go back there and check them out when we get to that point. All right. So let's talk a little bit about threats. You know about threats, right? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Let's talk about the threats first. There are a lot of threats in the creative industry right now. There are templated design sites. There are, I'm going to jump to another slide and then jump back. But this, oh shoot, where is it? Did I not have it? Did it? Oh man. All right, something happened. Wait, I'm going to jump ahead. I'm going to tip my hand. Nope. All right. Maybe it'll come up later. My slides might be out of order. Any of you who watched my graphic design trends for 2021 video might have seen trend number 2, which is AI design. There are computers doing graphic design completely independently of people now. And that is going to do nothing but get better and get bigger. And I have to turn off my desktop notifications or I'm going to be in big trouble. Okay. And, you know, when design programs became computerized, it was very, you know, Stone Age, right? I mean, it was Microsoft Paint, it was Apple Paint, it was bad, it was pixelated, it was clunky, but now look at it, right? And that is what's going to happen with artificial intelligence in design. And it's going to happen within your lifetime. It's going to happen within probably the next decade. And there's other massive changes going on. The agency world has shifted dramatically. So large global branding agencies, the WPPs, the Omnicoms, the holding companies, they are experiencing tectonic shifts in how their businesses run. And there are large companies, large clients going to smaller and smaller agencies because they need speed, they need flexibility, they need lower cost. And so lower cost agencies, flexible model agencies like mine, like Verhal, partnership model agencies are doing very well and getting very big clients because who large companies are going to is changing. There's also been this explosion of we are in the era of the independent contractor. They're saying that within the next few years, over 45% of workers in the creative professions will be independent contractors. And so that's a statistic you can't turn your back on either, right? That's an important one. There's the global creative economy, the downward pricing pressure of Fiverr and 99 Designs, etc. I did a live on that this week. Go back and look at it if you didn't. That was a good one. And that's a major threat to creative professionals as well. There's the end of job security, right? Companies used to be loyal. Agencies used to be somewhat loyal. Agencies have never been completely loyal, but they're somewhat loyal. But that is kind of over, right? Agencies lose a client, they shed people. Companies lose a market, they get acquired, they get reorganized, they shed people. So job security isn't what it used to be. COVID has obviously changed the landscape dramatically everywhere. There's the economic downturns, the real estate crisis, the .com crisis. Those things come out of nowhere too and throw huge loads of bricks in people's pathways of their career. And the other major threat is in that I am guilty of this one, and maybe you are too, but it's very easy if you work for a particular agency or company for a period of time, or you work at a particular level for a period of time, that you start to identify and attach your personal identity to the company or the agency that you work for, or the kind of work that you're doing for that company, or to your job title, or to your salary level, that agency name, that company name. That is also a threat, is to get too attached or start to identify who you are with that too closely, because those things can get shifted. They can get wrenched apart, and then you are kind of like having to figure stuff out, right? So now let's talk about, that's the heavy, right? Sorry about the whole heavy thing, but that is the heavy, and that is the truth in a lot of ways. So let's talk about opportunities now, right? Success Kid. The landscape is just insane in how much opportunity there is out there, not just for creatives in this exploding creative economy, but in terms of what we have at our disposal to do what we do, right? So there's free education everywhere. YouTube is a gigantic, second biggest search engine in the world. You can learn anything in the world on YouTube for free. There are free voice platforms, so a place where you have a voice, a soapbox where you can express your opinion. Dozens and dozens of them, social platforms. There are free design platforms, places where you can showcase your work for free to the world, to global audiences. There are, you have access to experts and mentors through webinars like the one I'm going to put on next week, or through mini courses, or through, free conferences that go on all the time. Incredible access to top level people that we never used to have before. Super cheap design platforms. So if you can't afford the Adobe Creative Suite, which is a lot of money, there are free platforms that do vector design and photography editing and all sorts of things, video editing, copywriting improvement, all sorts of things. Our reach as creative professionals can be amplified, expanded exponentially now, much more so than it used to. It has leveled the playing field between the people who have like tons of money or giant corporations who have gigantic marketing budgets. It has leveled the playing field between us, individual contributors, and the biggies, right? Huge opportunities. So what if your plans, best laid plans of mice and men, right? What if your plans, plan A, plan B, plan C, what if they fail? What are you going to do? What if there's a global downturn? What if you get laid off by your agency or your company gets acquired and you're on the street? You have to actively invest time and energy in future-proofing yourself. And I'm going to get into 7 ways that you can future-proof yourself. But there are some basics that you have to have. Yes, you have to have a basic creative expertise. You're a graphic designer, you're a copywriter, you're a photographer, you're an illustrator. Your base expertise, that is a given, okay? You got to get that. You got to maintain that. You have to establish your capability within a base level. But you also have to be open and keep your eyes open and your attention peaked to constantly learning developing new communication skills, writing skills, developing sales skills, etc. With that said, I want to tell you about something. There's this slide I was looking for. That's the AI design slide from my 2021 design trends video. All those designs that are on this slide were designed by a computer. Now, like I said, they're clunky, they're ugly, but they're going to get nothing but better, and it's kind of scary. But is it 2 of those? What is going on? All right. So I got to resize this. Got to move it. There we go. Let's make sure it's on the screen for you guys. I'm doing a webinar, as I said, next week on the 2nd and 3rd of February at 11 a.m. It's called 3 Secrets to Selling Bigger Projects. And some of what I'm going to be talking about today in terms of future-proofing yourself is included in this webinar. And the content, as I present in the webinar, is going to be slightly different, but some of the themes are the same, right? So in this webinar, I'm going to be talking about a major mindset shift that you have to adopt in order to get to this new place, to sell bigger projects, to charge what you're worth. I'm going to answer some, key questions that are going to unlock the ability for you to get more work. I'm going to teach you the right questions that you need to ask that are going to unlock that work. I'm going to teach you when you need to ask those questions, which is a really, really critical part, and how you can charge more money for what you already do. And also, I'm going to talk about the single most important mindset and skill set you have to have as a creative professional in this world as it is changing and shifting and jeopardizing our careers in terms of that downward pricing pressure that we're all feeling from the design sites like Fiverr and Upwork and 99 Designs, right? And then I'm also going to talk about the pathway to being able to charge higher fees. Because of that downward pricing pressure, people are feeling that in terms of what people are willing to pay for the creative work that we do. But there are some proven tools and some proven processes that you can use in your business to unlock your clients' budgets and make them more willing to part with some of their hard-earned green and invest with you to help them in their business. And I'm going to help you. I'm going to illuminate those things for you as you can put them to use and become more profitable. And so 3 secrets to sell bigger creative projects. Go to this URL, the one that's right here, philipvandusen.com/BS101, and register for that webinar. If you can't make those times, like I said at the beginning of the live, there's going to be a replay. So you'll get some emails about the replay. Okay? So that was a little commercial break, but we are going to circle back to that at one point. That webinar is also going to introduce and give you a peek into my new course, which I'm launching the week after that, called Brand Strategy 101. If you've been delivering brand strategy in any way, shape, or form, or if you've been looking to learn more about it, how to incorporate it into your practice so you can start being able to communicate the ROI, the return on investment of brand strategy to your clients and get them to be willing to pay for it. That's what I'm going to address in this course. And it is going to be an amazing course. So keep your eyes open for that as well. And so let's get into the 7, okay? Wait, I got to back up. First of all, number 1, you guys tracking with me? You guys all tracking? All right, good. Good. Peter's telling jokes. Daniel's telling jokes in the chat. Go for it, you guys. Keep things lively. Number 1, don't focus on yourself. Focus on the problems that you are solving for people. Don't focus on your job description. Don't focus on your particular title, your skill set. What you need to focus on and develop is empathy. Empathy and understanding and the ability to listen. The ability to listen to your clients, the ability to listen to their customers, the ability to listen to your colleagues. Learn to understand problems. Learn to be able to hear them and capture them. Because it's not about you. It's about the problems that you can solve. And the more you become in tune with problem solving as a motivation, the more you will be able to address any situation you are faced with. One of the biggest mistakes that I see creative professionals doing on their websites. Now listen up to this. If you guys have a website, and I hope you do, I want you to look at the copy on your website. And if you go on the copy on your website and there's a lot of stuff on the first page above the fold that starts with I, that's wrong. You got to talk about who it is you're talking to. What is their problem? Get them, voice what their problem is. Who are they? Are they a client with a branding problem? Are they a client with a video problem? Are they a client with a marketing problem? Who are you talking to? What is the problem that you're solving? So many creatives, so many designers, I go to their websites and it's like, hi, I'm blah, and I am a graphic designer for the last 10 years, and I, specialize in brand identity, and I, do the great packaging, and, I have all these skills in social media, and I. No one wants to hear about you. People who go to your website, they want to hear about their problem and how you can solve it. So you have to start with stating their problem. And I'm saying all this because if you develop those problems, listening skills to identify and empathize with people's problems, you will learn how to communicate in a problem solution way, starting with the problem and going to the solution rather than starting with the solution and then trying to look for people with the problem. Okay, that is number one. All right. Number two. Now, any of you have watched all of my videos, which I doubt there is anyone in this audience who has watched all of my videos. That's a challenge for you. But I did a video on future-proofing yourself a while back. And quite a while back, in fact, about 150 videos a while back. And I re-looked at some of the content in that, and I reworked it for what I'm talking about today. And I reworked it pretty significantly. One of the things that I added in here is number 2, which is build research skills. I think that the ability to do customer research and competitive research is one of those skills that is so transportable and so incredibly important to creative professionals in working with their clients that I wanted to put it up here as one of the top 7, because being able to do research will lead to new business. Presenting research and facts to people about their consumers, about their competition, will change people's minds. It will evolve how people are thinking about things. Learning how to develop insights, learning how to recognize trends, how to recognize trends in design, in business, in societal norms, in anthropomorphic psychology, right? Building customer avatars, building customer target profiles, doing user research. So this user research can be as simple as, a Google form or a Jot form, a questionnaire that is quantitative research, so based on numbers and responses that are numerical. And then there's also qualitative research where you're doing consumer or user interviews where you're finding out kind of the soft ideas and motivations and need states that people have. Doing competitive audits, so learning how to create an audit or compare your client's competition to each other and to your client. Research skills of this nature, consumer insight research skills, competitive audit research skills, trend skills, insight skills, and then also how you present those findings to people, how that is packaged in a presentation to communicate what you have learned to people. Those sorts of skills are incredibly transferable from one job description to another. And if you develop some basic research skills, it's going to help you in your creative freelance role right now. It's also going to help you way down the road when you start to have to take some side jogs in the web of your career by no fault of your own. As you have to pivot in one way or another, understanding motivation, right? So that empathy, and also how to dig in and do research around customers and competition and markets is a skill that will serve you. And it's one that's based in gathering information and filtering that information and coming to conclusions around that information. Those sorts of skill sets will really serve you in the future. The next one, number 3, is embracing learning as a constant. Now, if you guys watch any of my videos or any of my lives, you will hear me talking about this all the time, right? You have to be a lifelong learner. It is very easy to say, it's a lot harder to do. It is very easy to get stuck into a thought process, a pattern, a groove, something that's working for you, and not continually question why or question what else is there out there or what else could I explore. I always talk, and if any of you heard the interview that I did with Chris Do on the Futures podcast, I talked a lot about how I think that the biggest question that they ask you when you're in school and deciding on a career is, what's your passion? What are you passionate about? I think following your passion is probably responsible for more people being disappointed and disillusioned in their lives than anything else, and confused as a recent graduate, because passion carries way too much emotional weight. There's too much pressure in passion, right? And especially when you're just starting off, it's very hard to figure out what you're passionate about. You're still exploring. So I believe that everyone should nurture curiosity. Nurture curiosity through your entire life and explore things that you are curious about. That will lead you into areas where you never thought possible. You never originally considered that you would be going. For instance, when I was a fine artist, I got a job teaching in France. I went to France. I did a whole lot of monotypes, printmaking, right? I came back to the United States and I was just like, I got to get a job, moved to New York. And I thought, these are really great prints that I made. I want to do something with them. So I started printing them on t-shirts and selling them. I was curious about the t-shirt market. I was curious about how I could monetize this fine artwork that I had done. And that curiosity and that exploration and that tiptoeing into something new opened up an entirely new pathway of my career. And you never know where those little kernels of curiosity are going to take you into a new thing. Okay? Learning as a skill set. I'm going to circle back on this in one of the following top 10 or top 7 future-proofing methods. But building skill sets in finance and writing and communication or project management, things that are beyond just the creative, is also part of that learning as a constant. Pushing the boundaries of what it is that you do. Learning new applications. If you just know the Adobe Creative Suite, how about Keynote? How about video editing? How about Adobe Audition? How about audio editing? How about, I'll tell you one application that if you learn this application, it will serve you more in your career, in your professional career, than probably the Adobe Creative Suite, if you learn how to use it. And that is Excel. And I hate to tell you this, but it's true. One of the things that unlocked my ability to manage people and to move into upper levels of executive work was learning Excel. Excel is incredible for list keeping and stuff like that. It's also incredible for, using for financial projections, keeping lists. I mean, it goes on and on. And if you don't know how to use it, get in there and play around. And I know that that's almost heresy talking to creatives about learning Excel, but it's true. It's true. I got to tell you one really quick story. As you might know, I was a VP at Old Navy for a long period of time, and Gap Inc., Gap Incorporated, that owns all the Gap stores. They own Banana Republic. They own Athleta. They own Piper Lime, the shoe company. They own Old Navy. Huge multinational corporation. That whole corporation, their entire merchandising, their entire global production chain was like run on Excel. You would think that a company of that scope would have like some incredible, massive database thing that was like, all encompassing and, was a product lifestyle, kind of machine that ran. That whole company ran on Excel. Emailed Excel documents that were sent around the world. Fun fact. All right. Here's a big one. Number 4. This is a new one too. Build an island empire. And what I mean by that is that you have to think about yourself as an island to an extent. You have to really kind of own your own island. You got to think like Britain. You want to kind of like spread your influence around the world, but you want to have a safe place where you own your own land. You want to develop a body of work that shows your knowledge and your skills. And you want to make sure that you do it in a place that you control. Now, you don't control the whole internet, but you do control your website. You want to own your own land, so you got to own your own website. And that's a website that's a holding place for your creative work, for your content work, for your whatever kind of media work that you do. And that you don't rely on an external place like YouTube or like Instagram or like, anywhere else, Pinterest, to be the holding unit for your work. Yes, you can duplicate it out there, but I want to make sure that you are owning your own work and your own land. Now, you also want to own your audience. And for instance, you guys on YouTube, I love you guys, but here's the thing. I've got over 200,000 followers on YouTube, and I have maybe 5,000 of their email addresses. That's because YouTube doesn't let me see your email addresses. It won't give them to me. I can't communicate with you unless I am on YouTube. And so that's why I encourage everybody who follows me on YouTube to go to my website, philipvandusen.com, and sign up for my email list, because then I can communicate with you directly. And you can communicate with me directly. Because if you sign up for my email list and you get something that's an email from me, that's my address. It's like I don't do all these like contact at, right? When it comes from philipvandusen@verhel.co, which is my email address, which if you respond to that newsletter, it comes to my inbox. I think about keeping things personal and direct. And I value and nurture true relationships with the people who consume my content and whose problems I try to solve. Thank you, Peter Lewis. Anybody who's interested in putting a $5 in a tip jar, you can click that little $sign at the bottom of the chat on YouTube and contribute. I don't have a Patreon page, so this is one of the ways that you can just throw me a 5 spot for taking this time and my filling up your airspace today. That would be much appreciated. So thank you very much, Peter. I appreciate that. Own your audience. So start developing an email list and drive people off whatever platforms you're on, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. Drive them to your website. Get their email address so you can communicate with them directly. You want to own your own land. You want to get them on your island, okay? And then you want to start creating intellectual property. Intellectual property can be your design work. It can be your photography. It can be video. It can be audio. It can be your writing. It could be PDFs. It could be books. It can be tools. It can be checklists. It can be any number of digital or, maybe physical. Maybe you own or sell physical products too. You want to maintain those on your island as well, because platforms go poof. Platforms change their billing structure. Platforms get acquired by somebody. They go belly up. You never know what's going to happen. So you want to make sure that you are building and maintaining your own island. I think I've made my point on that one. Manuel, you're welcome. I'm glad. I try to be open and approachable and human and real, because it sucks when people have a veneer, I try not to be that way. This is another one that I added in today. And this is also another one that I'm going to address in this webinar next week. And that I address very heavily in my Brand Strategy 101 course. And that is develop your +1. What I mean by this is that you have, like I said at the beginning, when you have to have the basics, we all have, as creative pros entrepreneurs, our basic. We're a photographer, we're an illustrator, we're a graphic designer. We have to develop at least a +1, and we have to think of adding +1s as we go along. You want to make sure that you're accepting the reality of change. Things are going to change. You are going to be in a different place, probably doing a different thing 5 years from now. You may not know it. You may not even realize it, but that's the way it's going to be. And industries die, right? Platforms go poof. Look at the steel industry, the coal industry, the retail industry, the toy industry and retail, the video cassette industry, the books, retail book industry. These are industries that, 10 years ago, people thought were rock solid. We'll always have bookstores. Well, we do, but they're mom and pops now, right? And everything else is online. Web designing, 99% of it is templates now. It's not original coding. Social media advertising layout. I would say 85% of social media advertising layout is done in Canva or some sort of templated platform. Design, as I said, it's moving towards AI, right? So you can't be comfortable in where you are. You have to work and always think about the +1. You have to find and nurture alternate or additional skill sets. Say that again. You have to find and nurture alternate and additional skill sets. If you are a graphic designer, learn some strategy, learn some consumer insights work, learn how to do trend, learn coaching, learn writing, learn photography, learn presentation skills, learn illustration, learn video editing, learn audio editing, learn coding, learn project management, learn financial planning, learn 3D animation. Whatever it is, take your basic skill set and do a +1. Because every +1 that you do is, number one, it's a curiosity, right? So like I said about curiosity before, that may lead you to places that you don't really fully understand or know right now, but when you get into it, those are the doors that open up. But it also is probably the most important aspect of career insurance that you can have, is when you increase the width of your skill sets. There's the constant battle, right? There's the constant battle between, should I be a specialist or a generalist? And I'm not saying that this is saying be a generalist. What I'm saying is that being a multi-specialist is a great way to future-proof yourself, because it makes you be open to that curiosity, that exploration. It makes you flex your muscles in terms of continuing to learn, and it will give you additional things that you can sell and offer in products and services in your agency, right? It also gives you just yet one more skill that you can partner with other people to utilize, okay? So what is your plus one? Developing that plus one is, I think, one of the most important things to future-proof yourself. Is everyone tracking with me? All right. This one is a tough one, and it is true. Every agency job I've ever had, I've been laid off from. And it was due to a financial downturn because I was an expensive salary and we lost a client, or there was a major, .com bust. I've been fired from jobs from no reason. I've had my company acquired or taken control of by a different company who decided to reorganize and just get rid of a bunch of positions. Assume one day that you are going to be laid off. Assume one day you're going to be laid off. Unceremoniously, no fault of your own. It's just going to happen. You want to make sure that you're prepared for it. And I tell you something, almost nobody prepares for it. That's the crazy thing. I act as a professional coach. I actually coach a lot of executive coaches. And in their own brand development, these executive coaches work with people in developing their careers and finding new jobs and stuff like that. So I hear a lot about this. Very few people, for no reason, Seven Carrera, for no reason. Because for no reason, like no fault of your own, meaning there might be a financial downturn. The company, for no fault of your own, might lose a client. They might get their client stolen by a different agency. Someone might come into their client's business and just decide to work with people they want to work with, right? So no one's ever prepared for it. So trying to make sure that you are constantly keeping your eyes open and hedging your bets is a very important way to future-proof yourself. Say that a bunch of times. All right, number 7, learn to pivot. Learn how to pivot when disruption happens. Destruction, same thing. And become, like I said, comfortable with the prospect of change. Having your mindset be open enough that you aren't completely locked into, and this I'm circling back because at the very beginning I said don't become so don't have your personal identity so tied up in your job title or the one particular creative thing that you do, that if that changes, that you feel like there's a vacuum inside of you. You've lost your sense of personal identity. You want to make sure that you have multiple identities. You want to have multiple personalities. Because that will keep you open to the idea and the prospect of change when it comes down. Keep your eyes open in the market. Trends change. Emerging technologies come along. Be prepared to move when the market moves. Look, every 5-8 years ago, everything moved from static images to video. So everything is video now. Almost every single social program has moved, or platform has moved to focusing almost entirely on video. 80% of the internet traffic in the world is on video. There's AI in design. There are drones. There's virtual reality. There's augmented reality. There's 3D headsets. That's like a whole new technology that's bringing on an amazing kind of like explosion in creative. And from what I hear, I think Apple's about to get into that virtual reality thing, which should be really interesting. But that's a rumor, okay? You don't know that. There's, smart appliances. There's Internet of Things. There are craft products. There are, e-commerce, e-learning, remote work. Like, who knew more than a year ago that remote work would become the lifestyle for everybody on the planet, and that people were going to have to figure that out, if you know what I mean. I didn't get hit with that much because I already basically lived and worked in a very remote way. But a lot of people, I live outside of Manhattan. Manhattan is the biggest office building in the world, and those office buildings are empty now. And everybody who was working in Manhattan is now working in their apartment in Brooklyn or New Jersey or someplace else. And that is the kind of tectonic shift that can happen overnight. No fault of our own, but those are the sorts of changes that we want to keep our eyes open to. Okay? All right. Now, I want to circle back to my webinar. Next Tuesday and Wednesday, the 2nd and 3rd of February at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, I'm going to be giving a webinar on the 3 secrets of selling bigger creative projects. Some of what I talked about today is going to feather into that webinar, and that webinar's topics also in a great way tee up the course of Brand Strategy 101, which is going to come on the tail end of that. But this webinar alone, in and of itself, has some amazing content in it that I really know that you're going to enjoy. And I worked my tail off to develop the content. So I hope that you sign up for that. And like I said, go to Philip Van Dusen. The URL's right here at bottom. philipvandusen.com/BS101. You'll be taken to a landing page where you can sign up for that webinar and choose a date. And even if you can't make one of those times, you'll get emails afterwards to take you to a replay page, because I know that it might be really fun for you to watch the replay. Here's one last thing I'm going to ask you guys, and that is that if you know anybody who might be interested in this webinar, that you share this URL with them. And I'm going to do something. I'm going to make this full screen for a second, and I'm going to let you guys take a screen capture of it if you want to. Wait, I got to turn this off. Got to turn that off. Got to turn that off. And you could share that on social. If you feel so inclined to share that on social or with your friends, I would really appreciate it, because it's going to be a great webinar, and I would love to pass the word out into the world to make sure that everyone knows about it. Okay, so that's it. That's the 7 ways that you can future-proof yourself. I hope that you took something away from the feedback and the points of view that I shared. What do you think? What hit you the most? Like, you guys who are here, what was the one thing that I said that you're thinking about right now? What's the one thing that comes the closest into, that I was talking about that hits home the most? I'd really be curious to know that. And if you have any questions, please type question. Sorry, I got to put this back up here. In all caps. I will scroll back through the chat and answer as many questions as come in or as I can. So let's do that. Let me scroll back now. All right. Looking for all caps. All right, here we go. Kenku23 asks, is 52 late to change a career and get into design? No, it's not. It isn't. I didn't get into graphic design until I was in my early 30s. And I was a fine artist and a teacher up until then. I didn't even, Photoshop and Illustrator weren't around until I was in my 30s. And so, no, it is never too late. Here's the one thing I would say, though. The graphic design industry, in terms of jobs in the industry, in agencies and on the client side in companies, is incredibly ageist, and that is a reality. And so if you are thinking that you are going to get a job in an agency or in a company after learning design at 52, that is going to be a big challenge. So if you're going to get into design, you're going to have to do it as a freelancer, and you're going to have your own business. Or you're going to have to partner with some other people in some sort of cooperative agency partnership. So I would not discourage you from it, but I would say be realistic in terms of your expectations of finding a full-time actual salaried job at that advanced age, because this is one of those things that when it comes to future-proofing yourself, I don't want to be a bummer. But any of you who watched my review of the AIGA's design census know that it's something like after the age of 55, only about 6% of the working graphic designers in the job market are over 55. Meaning at 55 and 60, even worse, it falls off a cliff in terms of the people who are actively working in the profession. That can be, and this is what happens, companies sunset people. They let them go, they eliminate their position, and then they mysteriously open their position back up 6 months later, and they hire a younger person for less money. So do I have a chip on my shoulder about that? I left before I got aged out, but I know a lot of people who are creatives who have unceremoniously been laid off at 55 or 50, and they are having a very, very difficult time finding a new gig because of their age, because the creative industries are very ageist. And if there's one thing that and remember in this presentation I was just talking about, like you have to have your eyes open, one thing that people aren't prepared for, so many people, like the advertising industry is even worse. If you're a creative director in the advertising industry and for some reason you get laid off at 40, good luck finding another job. Like, it is an incredibly ageist industry. So you got to really, really make sure that you're building yourself some career insurance, because it's a jungle out there in the creative world. Okay. But there are ways to make a living. I want to say that. Okay, questions. All right, Abdullah asked, how to become a businessman starting a business from the freelance designer UX UI career. The best way to start is to learn it. Number one, learn UX UI, develop a portfolio, and then start making connections with other people who do that. The best way to get into an industry and understand how to get into an industry is to find people who are just like 2 or 3 levels or 2 levels above where you want to be, make friends with them, and then do some informational interviews with them. Interview them about how they got to where they were and what was the path that they took. And that's where you're going to find the really tactical nuggets of wisdom that will help you make that leap. So learn how to do it, develop a portfolio, and then while you're doing that, start to make network connections with other people who are doing that type of job that you want to be doing, and start forming deeper friendships, having deeper conversations about the sorts of things that they did to get to where they are. Hope that helps, Abdullah. Daniel, thank you for acting as a moderator there for a second. Another question from Abdullah, which I answered. Thank you, Daniel, for your super chat. That's super, super cool. I appreciate that. Okay. Orange Fly Studio says, with platforms like Fiverr, many clients are gravitating towards a fast, cheap design service. What's the best way to gain those clients? Well, you don't want those clients. If you want clients who are operating on price and price only, you don't want those clients. If you want to, I think that someone who's in my Brand Design Masters Guild mastermind does work with Upwork. If there is a platform in the competition or freelance, service website, software as a service thing, like the Fiverrs, the Upworks, the 99 Designs, Upwork is probably the best one, because you can work and find fairly decent clients on Upwork. And if you work for them long enough, you can eventually time out of the time that Upwork has to be involved, and you can then start working directly with those clients. So when I did my Fiverr live earlier in the week, that person who did the work for Upwork came back to me and gave me some more information about Upwork, about the experience that she's had with it. And it kind of shifted my understanding of Upwork a little bit. It modernized it anyway, because I had some perceptions that I think were a year, 2 years old. And she said that some things have changed there and that she's had some good success with it. So, but in terms of finding clients, that also is one of those reasons why being able to do research and define customer avatars and then seek them out is the way to do it. So if you want to get those clients, you have to go on those platforms. But I would dissuade you from going on platforms like Fiverr, where it is literally a race to the bottom in terms of price. Or you are working on spec, or you are producing work with no guarantee of return and participating in some sort of competition, which is not good for anybody except the person who's hiring the work. Alejandro asks, question: my vision is to have a small 20-person studio, but right now it's only me and a web developer. You think is too few people to call it a studio? No. 2 people make a studio. Really. You know? And I think that if it's you and a web developer, I bet you know a copywriter. I bet you know a photographer, right? I bet you know an audio editor. And if you get work that includes that skill set, you hire them in to do just a project. It doesn't have to be that you are working with those people only, like that you're only completely faithful to each other and you only work projects with each other. The way of the world now is that lots of people are working in the partnership model, where you will bring in and build a team for a particular gig or job project. And those people will, what we call white label, meaning they won't use their agency or brand name. They'll work under your agency or brand name and you pay them. And you'll work the project. And then after the project's over, everyone goes their separate ways. And so tiptoeing into that world is a great way of going about it. Over time, you may start working more of the same type of project, and you may start working with those people more regularly. So it would become, you might want to all start working under the same banner. But is it too small to call yourself a studio? Absolutely not. You can be one person and call yourself a studio. Peter Lewis asks, it's obvious that video is the thing right now. Any insights as to what the next thing will be? Well, if you had asked me that like 3 or 4 years ago, I was going to say virtual reality, because I went to a virtual reality conference in Manhattan and had my head blown off about what was coming down the pike in VR. And it has not come to pass like I thought it was going to. Maybe it's just still in its infancy too much. But I tell you, if Apple starts to get into VR, or some of the really, really big players start to get into it, or they figure out a way to make yourself not nauseous when you're doing it, that might be a thing. I don't know if you've also seen, you can paint in VR with a 3D headset, and you can paint in 3 dimensions digitally. It's actually really, really cool, and that's just coming from me as a painter. So I can't tell the future, Peter. I wish I could, but that's one thing that kind of pops to mind. All right. I'm going to add this from Peter. COVID ended my 20-year career, something he wasn't expecting. And he pivoted, and he took advantage of a mentor. He joined my paid, mastermind group, the Brand Design Masters Guild. And now he is absolutely killing it in 4 months. I mean, it's amazing. Peter has more work than he knows what to do with as a photographer. And it was amazing, amazing pivot. Peter is one of my huge success stories. Really excited for Peter. Okay, going to put this over here. Eljan says, I have some good black and white photography I think are good, but can be they're not so good. Any suggestion where I can show them apart from having a website? Yeah, I put them on Behance. Put them on Behance, put them on Flickr. There's a lot of different photography-focused sites. Put them on Pinterest. Follow other photographers on those platforms. Start to share them. Share them on, put together a PDF of them, a slideshow of them. Put them on LinkedIn. Tag the hell out of the post on LinkedIn with brand design, photography, and design agency and marketing. And people are going to come across your work and actively ask for feedback. In the post, say, this is a photography series I did of X. I would love your feedback on what you think of it. You got to get it out there. If you just put it on a website, it's like, Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. These days, if you build it, they will not come unless you have something driving people to that site. So you're going to want to put it on some sort of a public platform. So I would recommend that you do that and actively ask for feedback. Hey, here's an idea. I'm going to change this up. Hold on a second. I'm going to change that up. You should join the Brand Design Masters Facebook group, and then you should post your photos natively in the group and ask for feedback. There are over 2,000 people there who are going to give you feedback on your work. And it's going to give you a lot of ideas about what you can do. And there's also a ton of really great photographers there, one of whom is Peter Lewis, who's in the chat here, who's going to give you feedback on your work. So do that, and that is a great, great place to start. All right. Oh, wait, I got to take this off. Okay. Scroll, looking for the big question. Seven Carrera, what are your thoughts on digital nomads working internationally? It's kind of hard right now. I know a lot of digital nomads, and travel is hard right now. COVID's making everything hard right now. But if you can work it and be a digital nomad. If your work is completely digital, you can work anywhere. That's the beauty of it these days. I mean, that is one of those amazing opportunities that I should have put in that slide at the very beginning of the presentation. Digital nomads can work from, as long as you got a good internet connection and a fast computer, you're fine if that's the lifestyle that you want to maintain. Okay, scroll. Still looking for the question. All right. Laksha says, I'm working as a freelancer, but also full-time graphic design where I'm lacking because I'm still in the basic learning stage. Please help. I recommend, again, sorry to sound like a broken record, go to the Brand Design Masters Facebook group, join, start posting your work, and ask for feedback. You will get some great ideas. You got to start interacting. You got to dive into a community of colleagues, of like-minded people who have a range of talent that's above where you are, and ask for feedback, because that's where you're going to get the most tactical and actionable advice and feedback. So if you want to improve, you can do all the video training you want, but you got to get in there and start having those conversations, getting true critique from your peers. Okay. All right. Sorry, looking for questions. Stephen says, do many people on the Facebook group critique each other's work? Yes, and it's absolutely encouraged. Yes. There are some rules in the Facebook group. Number one, you can't post URLs. So Facebook frowns on people posting links and then driving people off of Facebook, especially from groups. So if you're going to get feedback on your work, turn it into a PDF and post the PDF natively, or post the individual JPEGs natively. But you have to upload it to the site, not links. So absolutely, post it, ask for feedback. That's another rule of the group too, is you be very specific about asking for feedback. What kind of feedback do you want to receive? give some sort of context to the work. What was the creative brief? What was the project? What was your intent with it? Because you can't just throw your work up and then say, give me feedback, because people don't know what to give you feedback on. You want to be really specific about what the feedback is that you are seeking. Okay, Stephen? So join the group and post some work. People love it. Okay. Shava Kumar says, self-taught designer, what's the best way to learn graphic design? I have some videos on that. Doing graphic design. Study the greats, look at the history of graphic design, join a graphic design community, design tons and tons and tons of stuff. And one of the things I also recommend, and this comes from my fine art days, is copy. And I don't mean copy and publish, but one of the ways that you can learn graphic design is take great graphic design from some of the greats and then recreate it. See what it takes to actually make it. Because you learn things when you're recreating things that you never realize when you're looking at it. You could look at it for an hour, but you're not going to realize what it takes to actually put the thing together and the decisions that were made to do it until you actually do it. So fine artists you've seen it, people go to the Louvre, they go to the Metropolitan Museum, and they get permission to set up a little easel, and they do a copy, they copy the masters. That's how you learn. Copy the masters. And that is one way of going about it. There's also a million YouTube channels and a million ways to learn that way as well. Can you give tips? Albert says, can you give tips on how and where you can make good research? User research is it's a skill. But one of the things that I cover in Brand Strategy 101 is how to do a competitive audit and how you do that research in a way that you can motivate your clients to buy more work from you, or you can motivate them to make a decision to do something that you want them to do. And doing research, how you go about a competitive audit, how you do research into customers is a science in and of itself, and it would be very hard to kind of give you tips how to start. That's a bigger question than I'm able to answer really here, but that's a question that you could ask the group, the Facebook group, and they might be able to give you a quick answer. But a good place to start would be taking my Brand Strategy 101 course. Hate to say it. I mean, that's so self-serving, but it's true. Okay. Aljan says, can you put a list of courses that you think would be good for us to take, like the one that you mentioned in the beginning? Yeah, I'm going to mention this one more time, and I'm just going to put it up there. Sorry, I got to find the graphic. There we are. Brand Strategy 101. This is the course that I'm going to be launching. If you go to brandstrategy.philipvandusen.com/enroll, you can read about the course, but it's not active yet, so you can't buy it yet. But if you want to read about what this course is going to be about and what's going to be in it, you can go to this website. But if you try to purchase it, you're going to get kicked out. You're going to be asked to log in. You won't be able to. It'll error out. But it's going to go live very soon. But if you want to read about the course, you can totally check that out. The webinar is going to lead into this course, so Albert. So I'm glad you signed up for the webinar. That's very cool. Anyway, Brand Strategy 101. And all right, so what is the Facebook group called? Okay, come on, you guys. Let's get up to speed. The Facebook group is called Brand Design Masters. If you go to facebook.com/groups, Brand Design Masters. That is the name of my Facebook group. You have to fill out a little forms, like 5 questions, answer all the questions, and then within 24 hours, you'll be let in. Okay? Hey, man, you guys, this has been awesome. Thank you so much. I've gone a little bit over, but I really appreciate your time. And it's been really fun talking to you today, as usual. You've been awesome. Great questions. And happy Friday. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. I hope all of you will sign up for my webinar, and I will see you in there on Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. And if not, please stop in and say hi in the Brand Design Masters Facebook group. Introduce yourself to the group. Always remember, post natively, not links, and give context for the sort of feedback that you want to receive. Okay? So again, thank you guys so much. I'm going to throw this URL on here one more time. Where is it? There it is. That's the URL for my webinar next week. And you guys have a great weekend. And thanks again. It's been great talking to you. All right? Till next time.